Greetings everyone, and welcome to Animated Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Hazbin Hotel, Season 2.
Yep, Hazbin Hotel, Season 2, Episode 8. Welcome back to the dojo, I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back from our animated Night in the Dojo, and I'm still super dead, but I'm gonna try my best. And, well, you guys can't see it right now, but this is pretty much a double-length episode. 38 minutes. So...
An extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, a whole extra 10 minutes. So that's kind of a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. There's a bunch of stuff that probably won't get answered this season, like the Carmilla stuff. There's some... I put up an image over there for the still of last time. At a certain point, Penchus really needs to stop flirting with the Seraphim because Cherry's going to blow him up. So there's something to piss off all the shippers out there. There's my throwing a wrench in the shippers stuff. That's what I have to say about it. So, either way, it'll be interesting to see how him and Baxter come up with something to deal with this situation, how they're going to handle it, what they're going to do with it. I don't think we're going to redeem Angel without getting his backstory. So that's probably not happening this season. The current string of events aren't going to allow that. I think the biggest thing that will probably potentially happen in this episode is the majority of Alistair's plan coming together. You know what I mean? And him breaking off from Rosie, and then him just kind of... Maybe the stinger will be like whatever he's gonna like do next, because it'll probably be... Alistair will probably be the problem of Season 3, I'd assume. One of the problems.
Yeah, it'll probably be a thing of he's either going to manage to break the contract with Rosie by making Vox more powerful than him, or he's getting everything together to somehow manipulate Lucifer and Charlie into forcing his contract with Rosie to be null.
Right. Because he still does have that favor that Charlie owes him at any point that doesn't harm anyone else.
Yeah.
So...
It doesn't involve her directly.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, yeah. So, either way, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. And I'm ready for this. So, we're going to push some buttons and get going here. We'll probably curb the season. We usually do like an extended thing at the end of these, the final episode of any season that we do. Kind of like a season wrap-up thing, but we'll probably just talk about this episode, a little bit of whatever, and then, like Season 1 of Hazbin, since there's so much going on and it's a big deal for us, we're going to go back and watch it multiple times, look for stuff going on in the background, come up with a bunch of theories and stuff like that, have a bunch of, like, still frames and stuff like that Victoria can throw up that we can, like, bring attention to, stuff like that, in a couple weeks, and throw that out there. So we'll have that be like the big season wrap-up thing, as opposed to going on with this, because this is already double length, and I'm super dead. So that's contributing to this. So I want to be able to put my best foot forward in theory crafting and talking about this, as opposed to the only reason I'm doing this right now is because we have to do it on the day it comes out to avoid spoilers. And once again, I'm going to say it again in this one, Amazon for Season 3, Vivian, whoever... I doubt either of them will ever see this, but I'm going to make posts in places and try to get people to rally behind. Release it at a sane hour that the majority of people can immediately watch it and not have to worry about waking up to spoilers immediately in the morning or whatever. A midnight release is freaking stupid. And that's me being very nice about it. I have some other choice vocabulary that I could use for this, but I'll refrain, since there's already enough vocabulary in this show for that. So... yeah, it's really dumb. So can we get like Saturday at 5 p.m.? That would be great. Saturday or Sunday at 5 p.m. would be fantastic. Do not do another midnight release. Okay? The 2 episodes a week thing, fine. As long as it's not the whole season in one shot, cool. 2 episodes a week, I can live with it. But the release time, that. Seriously. So, anyway... We're going to push some buttons and get going here, so people on Patreon will see you on the other side of the edit for the timer reaction, and people on YouTube on the other side for the discussion and review. So, here goes something. Well, alrighty then. There you guys have it. The full-on, pseudo double-length finale of season 2, and they used every freaking minute of it.
Mhm.
That was impressive. Given, the credits are like 2.5 minutes long, but still, it was like 35 minutes actual runtime, which they used every bit of it, and it was impressive. I got to start with some comedy. You guys see what Emily was doing here? She didn't have any binoculars, but she was doing the thing. So, hilarity. Gotta appreciate the bits of comedy when they're in there. So just had to start with that. That was great. They had their plan. It was reasonably executed. But when you get blasted by a gigantic laser beam and it takes out all the box tech servers, then you kind of got to rely on Penchus to do a thing, which at the end he did do a thing, and we talked a little bit about that at the end of the reaction, but we'll get to that. Try to kind of go like one thing at a time here. Vox showed his true colors. Obviously, we knew that was coming. He got sidetracked by madness. You know what I mean? Just win before you gloat, man. win before you gloat. I didn't know what's her name, the big overlord, it's like the kaiju overlord.
Yeah.
She actually has a name. I didn't know that, but that's definitely her because he refers to her as ZZ.
Yeah, it's ZZ, and then the skull guy is Maestro.
Yeah.
The
Like the two cowboy guys also got name dropped in like Vox's "Be Bad With Us" song, I believe.
Yeah, it's like Rick and something else. I don't remember.
Yeah. But the slideshow thing, that was impressive. Gotta appreciate that. Just everything going on with Vox, that was great. Once again, I'm fighting off being super dead here. Another really solid bit of comedy is that Baxter was able to hack Vox himself.
Yeah, Vox is still technology.
He is still
He's a cyborg.
technology. Yeah, so being muted, and then he was full on screen muted, and then they had the little when you mute your TV or whatever it is, and it's not just taking up the whole screen. It's just down there in the corner, and it's just hey, you have this muted. You know what I mean? If you mute a tab in whatever web browser you're using, it has the little speaker and there's a slash through it. You know what I mean? So that those little subtle bits of just attention to detail and stuff like that was neat. It was cool to see Velvet go full witch mode. That's something we're probably going to talk about in our season big wrap up and theory crafting stuff that we're going to do in a week or so here. Well, after we I want to be alive for this. While I look and feel to you guys that I'm alive, I'm clinging to the last ounce of my energy to get this done. So I'm putting on the Vox face for you guys because I am super dead inside right now, which I am toast. But we had to get this done. So if I miss a couple things, we'll definitely talk about it when I'm alive again and we've rewatched everything and we have all the stuff that we want to talk about for the season on a whole, because we usually do that at the end of the final episode of any season that we're doing. But because Hell of a Boss, not Hell of a Boss, but freaking Hazbin and Helva to that extent, are like Arcane, where they have so much to discuss, theorize, and break down and talk about that I want to be fully alive for that, and then have everything that we want to bring up. Things like Angel's past, pointing out his sister, that kind of thing. A little bit more on Velvet and stuff like that we want to talk about. The Alistair stuff, there's plenty to go on about for when I am more alive. So, but again, as I was saying, that aside, that's going to be coming next week at some point. Hopefully we'll be able to get that done. But it was cool to see Velvet, full witch attire, that kind of thing. That was cool that they finally put her in an outfit like that. So, once again, fully, even with this outfit here, you can kind of see that she's still kind of hiding her joints and that kind of thing. They're not as pronounced as they were in the last episode when she was talking to Valentino and Age was mentioning the stuff with her. So even with an outfit like this, she still hides it. You know what I mean? As a thing.
Yeah, she uses makeup and stuff to kind of cover it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just like, in general, yeah, she seems to have some sort of complex about her doll nature and doesn't like to actually let people see it.
Yep. Probably has something to do with her sin if she is one of the beings that ends up getting redeemed at some point, which I think she's reasonably on the table, and we'll probably talk about that more later in the subsequent video coming. It'll probably be part of her backstory, like, you know, whatever she was, you know, like a flash in the pan, kind of like Idol, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a bunch of
whatever.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that a doll could symbolize, and we don't know how she actually died or anything.
Yep. So it was neat to see that fight. In the middle of it there with Nifty, pretty much confirmed that Nifty was a former Overlord, and then it was hard confirmed in the Power of Friendship Dragon Ball moment when she was using magic to, you know, wisp the bomb, you know, the Doomsday device away.
Yeah.
So that full-on confirms that she is definitely a former Overlord. So
yeah, because the only sinners who can actually use magic are Overlords.
Yep. So either way, that was hard confirmed. Again, just every fight sequence here had its own, you know, unique aspects to them. They were very cool. You know, Husk using different things from his, you know, sleight of hand magic stuff that he's been doing. He used different things that we saw. Than we saw, you know, in his fight before, that kind of thing, like the exploding dice, him putting himself inside of his hat, you know, like the classic reverse of the pulling a rabbit out of the hat kind of thing, kind of magic. That was cool.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see stuff like that. So everything was handled incredibly well for this. You had things like these drones, you know what I mean, stuff going on in the background. I'm glad I kind of derped and landed on this, you know, just the little things like that are just kind of like going on in the background with everything that Vox was doing as he achieved full power. He even got the whole he's got the what do you call it, the Gurren Lagann glasses. It actually is kind of funny. It might be a reasonable shout out to Gurren Lagann, because the big quote of that series is "Believe in the me that believes in you." And that's basically what Vox is doing.
Well, once again, the whole thing is like Overlords get more powerful the more souls they have contracted to them, and the more people like actually idolize them and believe in them.
Which, with Charlie giving her favor to Alistair here, and now that it was taken care of, which that was probably the most benign thing that she could have done. You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So she got away with a really good deal at that point. It's probably going to come back to hurt her later with the fact that Alistair is looking to take her dad's job and be in his position. But for right now, it probably could have been worse. So her admitting it and giving Vox enough power to break his contract with Rosie was obviously a huge deal. So, you know, we got that cutaway to her when we saw that, and then she showed up. So, you know, all kinds of stuff happened in this one. So, again, even with Alistair being where he's at in this situation, his staff is still broken. So, and he still, you know, hasn't fully healed from tanking that hit from Adam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's never been fully allowed to completely heal, because it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, they took a direct hit from me. They're going to be out for a while. Or in this case, you know, it's going to take a massive recharge point. You have to, like, have probably, you know, like Rosie, he asked Rosie to fix his staff. He can't do it himself, kind of deal. Now that the bond is broken and he has the new deal with her, whatever that may be, he's probably completely, you know, 100% again. You know, staff fixed, bodies not being held together by 800 stitches, as we saw his fight going on with Vox. He was continually like keeping his body together. You know, you could see like the green stitches like appearing in multiple different parts of his body, not just in his chest and stuff like that. So he was literally being held together at the seams at the end of that fight when Emily bails him out. You know
I mean? No, he was literally just keeping himself together with his own power, because once again, and they are like just fisticuffs brawl, neither of them can kill each other. So they're injuring each other, but none of it can actually be lethal. So freaking he's literally just sewing himself together until he can regenerate.
Yep. So it was definitely an interesting action sequence across the board for everything that was going on. Everything was there that it needed to be. You know, the musical numbers were once again very good, that kind of thing. Again, kind of surprised we went with Dragon Ball Power of Friendship kind of Spirit Bomb thing. I guess that was the only way to handle this situation. I thought Carmilla would be able to, like, deconstruct it or something. But at that point, it was overloaded and kind of like, you know, when like a reactor goes critical, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, she was able to deconstruct it, and she was helping Veggie do that until Vox used his whole, like, technology fusing abilities to freaking hijack it and overload it.
Yeah. So at that point,
there was nothing to be done with it.
Yeah. So at that point, you kind of have to, once again, Dragon Ball reference, take Cell to King Kai's planet and let him explode there. Which I don't really know what they did with this. Did they just poof it out of existence with magic, I guess?
They either poofed it or they sent it somewhere else, like off into space somewhere.
Yeah. So let's just assume it was handled regardless. So, you know, it was handled. So there you go. But I'm kind of surprised that's the direction we went for that. But, you know, either way, it was kind of interesting to see all the different denizens of hell and stuff like that coming to the realization of certain things and stuff like that. How about Abel finally making a damn decision and getting off the fence?
Yeah.
How often do you guys see anybody get off the fence with anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, once again, while, like, Lute still has no respect for Abel, she can't actually directly oppose him because he is still an Archangel.
Yep.
He is significantly stronger than she is. If he actually decides to put his foot down, she can't really stop him.
Yep. So that's another thing that we're going to talk about in the, like, big season wrap-up and discussion thing is there's some questions with just Abel in general and their family. He does not by name, obviously, but he mentions his brother, who is Cain. So we have to, obviously he's around, okay?
Yeah.
So we don't know what's up with that. So that's another kind of like big sticking point that is going to be a big deal going forward. If Abel has finally got off the fence and is actually going to do something, we're going to have to learn a little bit about Cain, because Cain's a big deal, and Cain and Abel, obviously, because he's the man who committed the first murder.
Yeah, normally the whole thing is Adam doesn't die till he's like 900 and is far from the first human to die. So clearly something's up in that he died way earlier this time around.
Yep.
But then also Cain and Abel died after him, apparently, in this verse. Plus, they didn't both end up in purgatory. Abel ended up in heaven, so presumably Cain got sent to hell.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of interesting things to think about here. Obviously, the Alistair stuff, that's a big deal. We're going to talk about like the Rue stuff and stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see what they do with that. But, you know, they have definitely seeded a lot of interesting things for the future seasons, obviously, that kind of thing. So, yeah. Again, mentioned at the end of the reaction, Pentious' thing was just supposed to be a broadcast, meaning a broadcast, not a FaceTime call with Hell where he can hear what other people are saying. So, yeah.
Once again, the whole plan was you just make a broadcast and Baxter will hijack it with Vox's backdoor he has. But since the backdoor got Heaven Raid, they had to improvise, and friggin' apparently Pentious managed to literally come up with a two-way communication device on the fly.
Yeah. So that was impressive, given it had to be powered by Sarah, but still.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like one of those like 70s satellite dishes that needed like the MacGyver duct tape to work. You know what I mean? And the MacGyver duct tape to make it work is Seraphim's power. So, I mean, it could be worse. It worked. And, you know, Cherry didn't find out about his, relationships he's having with two Seraphim. I'm going to stir the pot. Suck it, nerds. No, he doesn't have any rivalries up in heaven, as he points out. He just has earned the confidence of two of the most powerful beings there, and they confided in him and had musical numbers with him and stuff, which, how is that any different than a rivalry in hell? So he's completely screwed. But in all seriousness, probably not, because obviously Cherry Bomb mailed him a nude there. We all saw it. We saw his face. That's what it was. Because Emily is now basically freaking Hermes, I guess.
She's basically Heaven's ambassador now since Adam is out of the picture.
Yeah. So the hotel is doing well. Valentino has stepped up and is now the big daddy. Can they call him that without copyright infringement? I don't know. That's not a me problem, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those things where she is now the ambassador, that kind of thing. Sinners see everything in a whole different light. As Charlie points out, the winners kind of got over it because, well, it's kind of over at the moment, so they just kind of forgive and forget and move on with their afterlife, basically. So
once again, they live in paradise where they have basically no problems, so now the situation's resolved, they don't really have anything to gripe about.
Yeah, so there you go. That all worked out well. But either way, obviously the big deal stinger here at the end was more than likely Lilith, or somebody posing as Lilith, is calling Charlie here, and that was the big stinger. But we got to make an old school voicemail joke. When do you get to do that? Because, once again, Charlie's voicemail to her mom there was that whole monologue she had at the end, and then immediately Lilith calls her right as she hangs up the phone, which is, would be sending the voicemail. So unless there's some timey-wimey nonsense, let's live in a world where Lilith got to hear that voicemail in real time like an old school answering machine. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know what that is, well, back in the day with landlines, if somebody was leaving you a message, it wouldn't just go to a server somewhere. The tape would start recording their message to you, and you would hear it in real time because it was coming through speaker. And then if you wanted to, you could pick up the phone and answer it there. It's like, oh, it's this person. I didn't recognize the number, whatever. And, so in that case, if you were listening to the message in real time and you were just kind of in the middle of something and wanted to see what they wanted, it's like, okay, I got to call them back right now. And then you could call them back immediately. There's your old school voicemail joke.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live in the timey-wimey nonsense world. Let's just live in the old school voicemail joke where it was just on Lilith's phone and she was listening to it in real time. Because it's funnier that way.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Once again, I still suspect that isn't actually Lilith there. That it's either Rue or more likely Eve posing as Lilith.
Yep.
Because we still don't know what's going on with Eve. We know she's around somewhere. But that definitely doesn't seem like it's actually Lilith. Both because of, visual cues, and we don't really know what actually happened with Lilith. So,
And she's never had a voice line. Let's not forget this. So there is no credited voice actor to pull a shenanigan with like we've done in the past.
Yeah.
Like you could do with Singed in Arcane. It's like, you could speculate and then they had to credit him. You know what I mean? We could meta knowledge it, but Lilith has the character portrayed as Lilith has never said anything. She's just been on screen. You're not going to get a VA credit if you don't say anything.
Yeah. Or at least make some noises, Neo's gasps.
Yeah, Neo's gasp, that kind of thing. But she's just, the only sounds she's made are her high heels clicking. That's a sound effect. So
yeah.
They don't have a VA for that character yet. It's just sound effects and the visual, which that's just the team doing that. That has nothing to do with crediting anything. So either way, hell of a finale. I'll give them that. It really upped the game from how they're playing the certain cards of like reusing, like it starts with Sari and stuff like that, and how this episode was titled Curtain Call. The finale of season 1 was called The Show Must Go On, so they're keeping with the theme. You know what I mean? Of that kind of thing, kind of like how we had at the end of My Dress Up Darling, or not the end, but the end of each season is something with the title of the show. That's like their gimmick, is like, this is My Dress Up Darling, and then the second season had My Dress Up Darling in the title of the final episode, and the finale of that series will probably have something to that effect. You know what I mean? It's keeping with a theme of naming a episode in a specific way based on the context of everything that's going on.
Yeah, well, once again, just the Morning Stars in general are all very showman-based. Like, friggin' Lucifer is like a circus ring man. Friggin' Lilith is an opera singer. Charlie is a Disney princess.
Yeah, pretty much. So, there you have it. One hell of a season. For Pentius's eyes only, and that egg that's floating behind him. We all know it was in that one. You don't have to worry about that. Val is the hero, so there's another spin going on. And then, yes,
which Val taking the credit and becoming the new face of the Bees makes sense, because once again, Velvet doesn't really want to be the face; she wants to be the brain behind everything.
Yep. And Baggy, well, she removed an E. You guys can see the VA credit right there on Amazon. She removed a V. Or an E, sorry. On the credited thing for Stephanie right there, it's VAGGIE. So Here we have VAGGI. Technically a name change.
But I had the thing like on the small screen, so I couldn't really see. And when you pointed it out, I was kind of hoping they actually did change it in the credits. Or when I saw that there was still a thing at the end, I had to zoom in to double check, because I was actually kind of hoping that they would do the freaking Blitzo thing and just have the E crossed out.
Yeah, just have the E crossed out. That would have been funnier. But yeah, she definitely changed her name. She also, not that it's probably a reference or anything, but she went through every FNAF villain female name during the season. Did you guys catch that? That one was interesting to me, but
No, she didn't. But yeah, she did both Vanny and Vanessa, but she didn't do freaking Elizabeth or what was the other one?
Well, that was V associated anyway.
Yeah, she did Vanny and Vanessa, which is technically the same person with different names, but still.
But either way, again, I'm running on fumes here, you guys. So, again, a solid season across the board. They've laid the groundwork for several more things, obviously. I think the next big thing, obviously, that they've seeded is Alistair gunning for Lucifer's position. And I think Angel is going to be the predominant thing for next season for redemption and getting his backstory and getting him away from Valentino and that kind of thing. The V's will probably still be around, but they're probably just going to be over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Vox and Velvet are probably going to kind of get more shelved for the next one, and it's probably just going to be focused on Angel, Valentino, and like Angel's family.
Yeah. And especially with the fact that Emily is going around and stuff like that as like a messenger. Maybe his sister will have something to do with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, word might kind of get around, and like his sister might send him a message or something.
Yep. So either way, there's still plenty of stuff, but we'll talk about it more once I'm alive again, and we have all the like shots that I can have Victoria throw up there and for like still frames and stuff like that we can bring up and things like that. So yeah, we'll probably be back at some point next week. Maybe not immediately on Saturday or something, but we still have those open days. So assuming I'm alive, we'll have it done. It might be a week later, but now that the season's over, we don't have to worry about spoilers or anything. So it's just going to be your standard wrap up and theory crafting and just pointing out some random stuff and whatnot.
One thing I wanted to check that I didn't quite catch is at the end there when Emily's flying around, is her wing healed? No, she does have a prosthetic. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I figure she's gonna need a prosthetic because it was, angelic magic that destroyed her wing.
Yep. So not unlike Lute having her prosthetic arm braced by Adam's halo, something similar. So, yep. There you
Lute's
guys have it.
arm still kind of. That was one of the other things I was going to bring up later, but Lute's arm still kind of is weird to me because it wasn't destroyed by angelic magic or anything like that.
He just tore it off. He just tore it off to get out from the rubble or whatever. So
yeah. So her needing the prosthetic is weird to me still, but Emily having the prosthetic makes sense. That was one of the things I was trying to look for, but missed it.
And look at me, I got lucky because the player's taking pity on me, wanting to put my face into my keyboard. But we all know that I'm going to be up for another 3 hours because once we finish here, it's just going to be like, you're going to try to sleep, but F you. I'm sure some of you have been there. So, I just can't bring myself to go to sleep at 8 p.m. I'm not wired that way, so I'm screwed. So I'm going to probably go stuff my face with pasta or something to not die.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I apologize for myself, but again, we had to get this done on the day because of spoilers. Otherwise, we would have been screwed. And I know AH got a couple spoilers. I don't know what they were, but luckily I didn't get anything because I was super dead all day and was not near a device. So
most of them were really minor things like names of songs and stuff like that. The only major spoiler I got was that Vox was going to manage to break not Vox, Alistair was going to manage to break his contract with Rosie.
And that's not really a spoiler. That was,
it was something we figured was going to happen, but
yeah.
it was a spoiler that it got confirmed before actually watching the episode.
Yeah. Anyway, again, I apologize for myself, but we had to do it. And once again, people, I would highly, highly recommend complaining and just asking for them to not release this stuff at midnight next time. Super serious. I understand the streaming service, everything we talked about. Please release it at a reasonable time. You know what I mean? It can still be Wednesday. I don't care what day of the week it is. Just 5 p.m. Make it a primetime show. Release time. You have the power to release it at any time. Don't do it at midnight. Like I said, I can even deal with the fact that there's 2 episodes a week. That's fine. 2 episodes isn't an overload. That's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? As long as it's not the whole season dropping, like them dropping the entirety of a 24-episode season of freaking JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on Christmas Eve a couple years ago. That was freaking stupid. But that's Netflix. But still, it just have some consideration for your fan base, and with the fact that there are going to be people that are going to sit there and watch it immediately and immediately start putting out spoilers. So at the very least, if it's coming out at prime time, you got a shot to not get screwed over by the internet. You have way less of a shot of not getting screwed over at prime time than you do at midnight. Okay? This isn't a situation where I understand, remember, some of you might remember back in the day, they had to have shows like this come out late night so that kids wouldn't watch them. That's another thing that we have to talk about in the freaking discussion, is a lot of parents were against this kind of thing. There's adult themed stuff everywhere. You need to be in charge of your kids' stuff and what they're watching, okay? It's not the show's fault. Go away. The fact that people are still trying to make those arguments is insane to me, but we'll talk about that more in the big thing. But with selective streaming services like that, you do not have to put something out at midnight to protect children, because there are ratings and safeties and parental controls that should be being used. So you don't need to put South Park out at past 11 p.m. when most kids are asleep or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So don't be beholden to that. I don't think that's a rule that they should have to worry about. So it's going to be out either way. And if kids are getting their hands on it, they're going to get their hands on it later anyway. So what the hell does it matter what time it releases? You know what I mean? It's always going to be on the internet as a streaming thing. Yeah. So just release it at a sane hour for the fan base, and especially to combat rampant spoiling of things, because there are everybody, you know, plenty of people do videos like us. A lot of people just, you know, for clickbait and engagement farming, just put out spoilers immediately, that kind of thing. So you know what I mean? So yeah, that can be alleviated at least a reasonable amount if you put it out in prime time. You know, so that's my biggest gripe with this season is the release method.
Yeah.
So hopefully they do something about that. So yeah, that was it, you guys. That last little burst of pissed was all I got. So we'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll get it done. You know what I mean? We'll be back next week with a big wrap up and theory crafting and all that kind of thing. So anything else you want to get in here, Age?
Not really until we get to like the big discussion.
Fair enough. So we'll save us for that. So again, everybody, wherever you're at, YouTube, beyond, this was Hazbin Hotel, Season 2, Episode 8, last episode of the season, and we'll be back hopefully around next week sometime. Maybe, you know, we can have something like that whenever we can get that done with the big wrap-up and, you know, like I said, theory crafting, you know, pointing out certain things like that, you know, random bits of information and whatnot. So, great episode, great season. I enjoyed it. So everybody have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.